Control of forms. I. Preservation of forms in use. Only those forms in use should be retained in an office in order to avoid extravagant usage and to ensure that the required forms are properly designed and given necessary aid at the lowest cost. 2. Economy on the usage of forms. The forms should be produced in the most economical method, in that, if the information required to be put on the form is not too much, a small size form should be used or completed to avoid unnecessary wastage of blank spaces. 3. Distribution of forms. The forms should be distributed only to those who have a justifiable reason for having them. Failure to do so, forms may find their way to wrong hands and possibly used for fraud purposes. 4. New forms. All proposed new forms should be properly studied in order to avoid duplication. It would be a bad idea if new forms were proposed or revised when the same design was already held in stock either in the office, government printers, or by approved private suppliers. New ORM is only authorized when it has sustained heart purpose can be served by an existing form. V. Review of forms. All forms should be reviewed periodically in order to keep them in line with the current system of requirements of the office. 6. Forms to be registered. All staff and departments should know that a form control section is being instituted and its function and authority properly defined. Then at least 2 copies of every office in use must be collated and made into a form register accompanied by an itemized list of all forms. 7. Checking of forms. All forms should be checked periodically to see if any of them can be eliminated, combined with others, or improved. 8. Standardization of forms. Standardization of forms is possible on form content or possible on size and color, so as to facilitate filing and reference purposes. Form design. The designing of forms is an important aspect of office management. This tool needs to be made as perfect as possible through proper designing. Proper designing ensures that efficiency in office work is maximized through the use of minimum number of forms. A defect in the design of a form is bound to increase the labor needed for using it or frustrate the efficiency of work, thereby increasing costs. Principles of office form design. Proper title. The form should have a proper title so that the person who reads or records on it knows the purpose of the form. The title should be short and concise. Numerical identification. Each form must have a control number for easy identification. Logical sequence. Information should be arranged in the natural reading sequence of left to right and top to bottom. Items should also be arranged in their normal relationship sequence. Space standard. Space for entries should be adequate and in the most natural order for use if the form is to be filled in quickly, easily, and correctly. Economy. The size, quality of paper, number of copies, and method of producing forms should be decided with costs in mind. Ballot boxes. Where appropriate, place small boxes in front of the statements or questions which can be answered by simple yes or no. Appropriate rulings should be used to guide the reader while using the form to enable him to separate the groups of data into separate zones on the forms. Both sides printing on both sides of a form should be considered. When printing on both sides, the initials PTO should be printed on the bottom edge of the front of the forms. Language. The language used should be simple to understand so that the information being looked for can be easily obtained. Self-instruction. A form should provide information that will enable it to be completed as desired. This can be done by providing definitive captions of instructions.